3 months ago, I thought I was living a happy, normal life with my wife of 8 years. Now, I'm sitting alone in a new apartment, still trying to make sense of the chaos she brought into our lives. It feels surreal typing this, but here I am, sharing the aftermath of the worst betrayal I could have imagined. To give you a little context, my wife and I met at a friend's wedding. I was bartending that night, working several jobs while putting myself through trade school. She was gorgeous, and it didn't take long for us to hit it off. Over time, we built a life together, one I thought was solid and unshakable. We had saved up almost $95,000 for a down payment on our dream home, and we were supposed to start looking at houses just next month. But all that came crashing down 3 months ago when I came home early from work. I had been at a job site, and the client had changed the details of the project, so I had to reschedule the crew for the next day. Thinking I'd surprise my wife, I decided to take her out for lunch. But when I pulled into the driveway, something caught my eye. There was an unfamiliar Audi parked in front of our house. I thought it might have been a friend's car, but my gut told me something was off. I walked into the garage, and as I made my way upstairs, I heard music coming from our bedroom. The closer I got, the clearer it became what was really going on. It was impossible to ignore the unmistakable sound of my wife in bed with another man. For a brief moment, I froze, caught between two conflicting desires. Part of me wanted to storm in and confront them right there, while the other part wanted to leave quietly, pretending I hadn't seen or heard anything. I chose the first option. I pushed open the door, and there they were, my wife, with a man I didn't recognize, tall, well-groomed, wearing an expensive watch. His face went from shock to guilt in an instant. For a few seconds, neither of them said anything. Then, my wife scrambled to cover herself and began shouting at me for invading her privacy, like I was the one in the wrong. The guy tried to sneak past me, but I blocked his way, demanding to know who he was. That's when my wife, with a mixture of guilt and defiance, told me he was Derek, her personal trainer. I couldn't believe it. Since when did she have a personal trainer? She had been telling me for months that she was just working part-time at a juice bar to get out of the house, but now it seemed like there was more to it. Derek, clearly uncomfortable, tried to slip out, mumbling apologies, but I wasn't about to let him off that easy. I grabbed his arm and made him sit down. What followed was the most surreal and painful conversation I've ever had. My wife admitted to seeing Derek for months. He worked as a trainer at a fancy gym downtown where all the wealthy people go, the same gym where she had been working part-time. And that wasn't all. She casually revealed that they had been investing our money together. It hit me like a ton of bricks. My wife had been secretly spending our savings, $95,000, on real estate deals with Derek. I turned to Derek, furious, and asked him if he always slept with his clients. He couldn't even look me in the eye. I told him to get out of my house and never contact my wife again. Once he was gone, my wife switched gears from defensive to remorseful, crying and apologizing, begging for forgiveness. She said she didn't mean for it to happen, that it was all a mistake. But I wasn't buying it. I packed my things and went to stay at my brother's house to clear my head. Over the next few days, I tried to come to terms with everything. My wife bombarded me with calls and texts, alternating between begging for another chance and accusing me of throwing away 8 years of marriage over one mistake. But one week after D-Day, when we met at a coffee shop to talk, I told her I wanted a divorce. That's when she laughed. It wasn't a genuine laugh, more like a smug, victorious chuckle. She then dropped a bombshell. She had emptied our joint savings account, all $95,000 of it. She told me she and Derek had been investing the money together, and that he was really good with finances. She went on, smug as ever, saying, "You'll never be able to afford a lawyer to fight me. Derek's cousin is an attorney, and he's already advised me on everything." She seemed to think she had all the cards, that I was powerless. I sat there in disbelief. The woman I had trusted, the woman I had spent years building a life with, had not only betrayed me emotionally, but financially. She was taking everything, and she thought she could walk away unscathed. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing over everything. All the years of hard work, the sacrifices I had made to save for our future home, the vacations we never took, The nights out with friends I turned down, all of it gone. But then, a memory surfaced, one that gave me a flicker of hope. 3 years ago, my wife's brother had gotten into some legal trouble, and I had called in a favor from my old high school friend Tom, who had become a successful lawyer. Tom had represented her brother at a reduced rate, and they had stayed in touch since. I remember that Tom had helped my wife with some investment opportunities last year, and while I didn't think much of it at the time, now it struck me as odd. I grabbed my phone and called him. Even though it was already 11 p.m., he answered immediately, and when I explained the situation, there was a long pause. Then Tom said, "Your wife's boyfriend is Derek Watkins." "Yeah, you know him?" I asked. "Buddy, do I know him?" Tom replied. "Derek Watkins is running a confidence scam targeting wealthy women at that gym. He gets them to invest in fake real estate deals. He's been on our radar for months. He's a convicted fraudster who served a short sentence in Arizona before moving here. He's been on probation, and the local authorities didn't even know about his past until we started investigating him." In that moment, everything clicked. Derek wasn't just my wife's lover. He was a con artist, and he had been manipulating her, stealing our money and ruining my life. But now, with Tom's help, I had a chance to fight back. It wasn't over yet. I felt a strange mixture of vindication and horror as the reality of what had happened started to sink in. The money was gone, but not completely. Tom reassured me. "We've been building a case," he said. 3 other women have come forward, but they're hesitant to press charges because they're too embarrassed. If your wife will testify..." "She won't," I interrupted. "She thinks the sun shines out of this guy's ass." "Well, then we'll have to do it the hard way. Can you come to my office first thing tomorrow?" The next morning, Tom introduced me to his partner, a former financial crimes detective. They explained how Derek had been running the scam for at least 2 years, preying on women at the gym, typically married women with access to joint funds. He would seduce them, convince them to invest in properties that didn't even exist, and then disappear with their money. I could barely comprehend what I was hearing. "We need to move quickly," Tom's partner said, his voice grave. "Before he transfers the money offshore." Tom added, "Your wife may have been a willing participant, but she's still a victim of fraud." By noon, I had signed some papers, made a formal statement, and handed over every piece of documentation I had regarding our savings account. By 3 p.m., they had filed for emergency court orders to freeze assets tied to Derek. By 7 p.m., Derek was in handcuffs. It turned out Derek had been on probation for a previous fraud conviction in Arizona. The moment he took our money under false pretenses, he violated his probation. The police found him dining at a restaurant with, surprise, another married woman from gym. My phone exploded with texts from my wife. "What did you do? Why is Derek being arrested? Answer your phone." I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded everything to Tom. The next morning, my wife showed up at my brother's house. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she looked nothing like the smug, confident woman I'd seen just days before. "Derek's in jail," she said when I opened the door. "They're saying he was scamming women, that the investments weren't real." I just nodded. "Did you know?" she asked, her voice shaky. "I made one phone call." I replied. She started crying. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." He seemed so legitimate. He showed me property listings, contracts, everything. "And you believed him because you wanted to?" I said flatly. She nodded, her tears flowing freely now. "The police said they might be able to recover some of the money," she offered hopefully. "Not all of it, but some." "Good," I said, feeling numb. "Can I come home?" she asked in a small, broken voice. For a moment, I almost laughed at how absurd it was. After everything, the affair, the theft of our savings, her smug attitude about me not being able to afford a lawyer, she thought a few tears would fix it all. "No," I said firmly. "You can't. I made a mistake. I was stupid. I got scammed," she pleaded. "You made several mistakes." I corrected her. Cheating on me was a choice. Emptying our account was a choice. Taunting me about it was a choice. She tried to push past me into the house, but my brother appeared behind me, arms crossed. He'd never liked her much, and his expression made that clear. "You need to leave," I told her. "My lawyer will contact you about the divorce proceedings." "Your lawyer?" she said, incredulous. "You said you couldn't afford one." "Tom's representing me," I said, "and his firm has excellent family law attorneys. Turns out they don't like guys who scam married women or the women who help them." Her face fell. "You're saying I helped him scam other women?" she asked, her voice small, like she didn't want to hear the answer. "Didn't you?" I asked coldly. "Working at the juice bar, pointing out which rich wives looked unhappy in their marriages?" Her face went pale as realization dawned on her. I hadn't known for sure until that moment, but her reaction confirmed it. Over the next few weeks, the full extent of Derek's operation came to light. He had scammed at least 12 women out of nearly $500,000 combined. My wife was one of his bigger targets. But she hadn't just been a victim. She had also helped him identify potential targets at the gym. The police were able to recover about $40,000 of our money, but most of it had been spent on Derek's lavish lifestyle. The Audi, expensive watches, fancy dinners where he'd wine and dine his next victims. Tom's firm handled my divorce expertly. Since we had clear evidence that my wife had transferred the money to Derek during the affair, the judge had no sympathy for her. She was ordered to pay me back my full share of the savings from any future earnings. She tried to argue that she was a victim, too, but the judge pointed out that she had willingly participated in emptying the account without my knowledge or consent. That, the judge said, was financial infidelity. Derek pled guilty to multiple counts of fraud and violating his probation. He's now serving a 5-year sentence. As for my wife, I heard she had to move back in with her parents. The gym fired her from her part-time job at the juice bar once they found out she'd been complicit in Derek's scams. That discovery hit me harder than I expected. It hurt almost as much as the affair itself. It's been 3 months since that day I came home early. I'm still working as a construction foreman, slowly rebuilding my savings. Tom introduced me to a financial advisor, someone who's helping me create a more secure plan for the future, one where no one but me has access to my money. I've had a few dates here and there, but I'm in no rush to get serious with anyone. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. Sometimes I think about how confident my wife was when she said, "You'll never afford a lawyer." She thought she had it all figured out. She thought I was powerless. But she forgot something important. It's not about how much money you have. It's about who you know and who knows you. I spent my life building honest relationships with good people. She spent our marriage and our savings on lies. In the end, all it took was one phone call to bring it all crashing down.